All right, welcome to the Players Podcast. I have a very special guest. This coach I owe a lot to. He taught me how to compete, and I felt like I always knew how to compete, but he gave me a plan on how to compete. You know, it's one thing to have competition, but it's another thing to have a plan and really showing me that, hey, man, what you don't know will hurt you. So it's really important that you get around coaches, people that are a lot smarter than you, that can invest in your life, that make you uncomfortable and force you to do things and pull things out of you that you didn't know was in you. And that's what Coach Gill did for me. So I first want to just introduce him and go down, a few things on his list. He's been at McClennen Community College for 21 seasons, 511 win record with 142 losses. That's a 78% record. And those that don't know, a good season is typically the 20 mark. So that pretty much averages out to about 24 and a half wins per season. 9 all conference outright titles, over 90 all conference players. Before he was coaching in college, he was coaching at Waco La Vega. He was there for 3 years. In that short time, they went 92-11, including the state championship. And so in his head coaching career, including high school, 678 wins, 175 losses. So basically, if you're not in the college ranks, you don't really even have a chance at beating them. So hey, Coach Gill, welcome.
Hey man, appreciate you having me on, and man, I'm proud of you, and I'm just excited to see what you want to talk about in this podcast.
Oh yeah. Well, I got a lot to say, and I want to first just kind of start off with a story. Um, when I was in high school, I was a pretty solid high school player, and of course, about my eye condition. But we had actually played you all when I was a sophomore, and I had a really good game. And then after I graduated, it's almost August, and I remember getting a call from you, and you're like, "Hold on, Juwan, you still out there?" And you
Oh
came.
yeah,
I came down, did my workout, and this was kind of the first time that I went out there, and we'll talk about more about the adjustment of college in a little bit. But I went out there. I didn't feel
right.
like I played very good. I didn't make shots, and then it was more your attention to detail to the game. And when I got home, you offered me a full scholarship, and I didn't expect it because I didn't feel like I was making shots. I didn't feel like I was doing things. But later, as we talked, the things you saw was, hey man, you always competed. You passed the ball with both hands. You finished. And it was like the
Right.
nuances, like you talked, and I was just like, okay, so there's more than basketball than just scoring the ball. And
Right.
you're a coach that kind of first showed me that you could appreciate me not playing well offensively and still seeing something in me to give me a full scholarship. So that's how we started.
Well, I mean, I remember, you know, in high school we played you, and that's why you never know who's watching. And I like the way you carried yourself. You was a good teammate, and you was tough, and you wanted to compete. And when things didn't go your way, I mean, you didn't pout or anything. You just kept playing basketball, and that's the kind of guys that I gotta have. Is
Yeah.
it's more than making shots, because some guys, they may make shots and they don't do anything else, but you do all the little bitty things, and plus the shots that you were missing, I mean, it looked like it was going in, it just didn't go in. So I mean, that was the main thing. My main thing was your character. You come from a good family, you come from a good program, and I just wanted guys that wanted to come in, compete, and get better.
Yeah. And yeah, you definitely been and having my teammates, you definitely recruit a type, and they always compete. And, it's funny because you're a junior college coach. And when people ask me, like, what was the toughest time playing, it was when I was in junior college. And I think, I can attest to that by, like, when I went Division 1, I was pretty much outright the top guard on our team.
Right.
And then when I was in junior college, I was competing and clawing for every little bitty thing. And and then more so, the players that were my teammates, they went on and played. I mean, Andre Owens, I played him. He was the top guard on his team, and Jesse Kimbrough. So like when they went on to play D1,
Right.
we were already in a bubble of Division 1 players. I mean, basically the whole starting five went Division 1. The guys who weren't starters kind of went D2, like Chris Johnson at Tarleton. So
Right.
it's just super competitive, and I don't know that people understand that about this level.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, junior college, and it's changing. The dynamics are changing now. But when you came in, and even before that, junior college was there was guys that transferred down from D1 that had a hard time breaking in the lineup because
Mhm.
you know back then junior college was a guy that had a chip on his shoulder. They got missed, and they had Texas hoops. They had rankings, and some guys were ranked and some guys weren't. And whenever a guy that wasn't ranked had to play against a guy that was ranked, I mean, those guys wanted to show those guys, and most of the time they prevail because hard work. There's nothing that's going to substitute for hard work, being coachable, and just being tough. And the typical junior college guy that we look for is a guy that he's good enough, but a lot of people don't think he's good enough, and they passed on him. And
Mhm.
you can come in here and either cry about it or be about it. And you guys were really fun to coach because we had like six guards that, I mean, at any time they were just going to wear you out. I mean, but we saw it every day in practice, and practice was
Yeah.
really made you the type of player that you are.
Yeah. Practice was definitely harder than the games, and I think that's something, that's an environment that you created for us. And speaking of, because you've recruited the Killeen area where I'm from a lot, and at the time, it felt like you were the only one.
Yeah,
And so yeah. So when as I look down the rosters over the years, I mean, I could go down names, but you've recruited
right.
multiple players in there, and now I'm starting to see more colleges kind of go to that bed and start recruiting them as well. Where did that come from? What, you just knew the area? Why you choose?
Well,
Oh,
I grew up in Waco, so Waco basketball was really good, and Killeen basketball was really good, and um, you know, going to watch those guys in Killeen, there was a lot of good coaches in Killeen, but there were players, and I think what really helped at the time was those guys from Killeen would go and play against the military guys on base or whatever, and
yeah,
play against older guys, and that's where you learn the game. They
yeah,
wasn't really big on you hadn't really hit clean like it had Dallas and San Antonio and Austin and Houston yet, but they were still playing and getting better by playing with older guys and playing every
mhm,
day and getting the fundamentals down, knowing how to win and knowing how to compete. And a lot of times, you can. I didn't have to beat a whole lot of guys out on clean guys because once I got a couple of the best ones, and then the word got around and their parents, and they said, "Hey, man, Waco is a great place. It's only 60 miles away. Uh, they
yeah,
have a good program, and you can see your kid play every game,
yeah,
and they can come in and if they put in the work, they have a chance to get out and get a Division I scholarship." And we have numerous stories. So I mean, clean is really it was a hotbed for me. Instead of having to go to the Metroplex of Houston to get 4 or 5 guys. I can
right.
get 1 or 2 a year, maybe out of Killeen, that could be really, really just as good as those guys. They just don't have the name recognition.
Yeah. And it's funny you brought that up, the military base. I mean, obviously I grew up on it. And just to give people a look at the difference, because I tell kids that I train today that I'm like, man, by the time I was 16, 17, I'd hit so many more meaningful shots than you all that, you can't even compare the two. Because in Killeen, if you lose in that gym,
Right.
you're basically done for 2 hours. So
Yeah.
like to make a play where there's a steal, like a steal gets celebrated, locking a guy down gets celebrated. So this
Right.
is kind of how I tell them how I went. When I was like in seventh and eighth grade, when I got on the grown man's court, my job wasn't to score. Obviously, I wasn't physically good
Right.
enough to score on them. My job was to guard, get the ball, the best player of the ball in a position where he could be more efficient, so we could stay on the court more. Then I became a ninth and 10th grader. Going to 10, probably from 1 to 6, I could shoot, take some shots. So I learned shot selection, things like that. I just learned how to be a winner. And then when I was like a junior and a senior, now they're starting to play through me offensively. And then I look back at when you recruited me, I go down, I don't play the best offensive game, but I'm still playmaking, I'm still guarding, I'm still doing that. And I look at the opportunity I was able to get just because of competition, being able to knowing how to compete. And I don't think
Right.
the kids learn that in AAU all the time. you
Well,
know?
no, I mean today, they can go to an AU event and play 3 games, and they can lose all 3, and they're still going, you know, to the best restaurants in town. Um it's let me get this camera
Yeah.
back, but like in when you're playing with the older guys, it's almost like you're playing up. Like you're 8 years old, but you're playing with 12-year-olds or 15-year-olds when you go into the gym playing against those older guys when you're a sophomore in high school. And
Mhm.
like you said, meaningful. I mean, you can get the best 5 guys in the gym, and they could lose by because nobody knows their role. Everybody wants to score, but if you get a guy like you that wants to pass the ball, you get another guy that's a really good rebounder, another guy that's a really good shot maker, and now everybody
Yeah.
understands their role. Now you can win. But the thing is, um, you know, just playing AU, it's a good thing and it's a bad thing because, um, just the sense of urgency. Sometimes a kid gets out there and say, "Oh man, I got 3 games today, man. I mean, I think I'm gonna take it easy." I mean, it's kind of like the All-Star game we just got through watching on Sunday.
Yeah.
You know, team had 100 points at halftime and scored over 200 in the entire game, and it's becoming a deal where a guy don't want to compete every day. He feel like he just needs to work, in the second half of the season, get to the playoffs, and then go from there. So
Yeah.
uh, it is what it is. But in order to be a really good player, same thing. We have guys that go to the gym that they're not taking game like shots. So when they get in a game, they're not game ready. I mean, if you're not taking
Yep.
those shots and it's a meaningful shot, then it could cost you when you get into the real game.
Right, right. And to add on to the AU, I mean, there's always another bracket. You know, if you lose, you don't go home. There's a constellation bracket. So there's really no penalty to losing. There's no penalty to taking bad shots or turning the ball over or not doing things correctly because there's always another tournament. There's always another game. And so there's the penalty isn't as big. One of the questions as I was going down your list, I wonder if you, and I've always, when we're on the phone, I always meant to ask you this. You've coached. How many players have played collegiately after playing for you? Do you have that number?
I don't. It's just so many. I mean, we get a number every year. There's 3, 4, 5 guys sometimes a year that go. I'm just at the end of my career. I'll probably add it up, but
Mhm.
I'm just so happy that those guys get an opportunity to go and not only play basketball, but to get an education as far as being able to one day take care of their families. And I hadn't really added
Yeah.
it up. I just, so many that I'm just grateful, and
All right.
I'll count them at the end. But right now, I'm just so happy and ready and getting ready for the next group.
Yeah, and the reason I thought of it because I looked up and I'm coming out of high school, and since I was good in high school, I thought I was just gonna take over the world in college, and then I get to college, and
Yeah,
basically the whole starting five is going Division 1.
yeah,
The backups are going Tarleton and
right,
Incarnate Word. Like when I was playing, I was like, man, how do I make sure I get on this court? It's so competitive. And I'll tell you what, one of the things that I did, and I'm gonna say this just so the kids and viewers could hear, is on that court, there was a ton of talent. All right, without getting into names. And so I was like, okay,
right,
how do I get on the court as a smaller guard? So one, I was in the gym a ton. Like, I
right,
mean, I wore that shoe machine out. I was in the gym on purpose a ton. And I was just basically like, man, I got to just outwork these guys. I mean, because right now they have an advantage. They have experience over me. They're physically stronger. They have a whole year in the weight room over me. So I got in the
yeah,
gym on both sides a ton. The second thing I did was I said, you know what? When I get in the game, I'm going to press everybody and I'm going to make the first catch super tough. And
yeah,
then when they do have the ball, I'm going to turn them at least 3 times. And then if they start their offense beyond the NBA line, meaning the first pass because of the ball
right,
pressure is back behind the NBA line, then I've done my job. And you always rewarded me for that. And so I was like, okay, so there's things that I can control. And on offense, my thing was when I get the ball and I show up in the game as the sixth man or whatever, I'm going to push it because most mistakes are made from free throw line to free throw line. And
Yeah.
then if we don't get anything easy, I'm going to get the ball to the guy that went and played for the Spurs, Eric Dawson. And, and I was like, hey, there can't be
Right.
any crime in that. We're getting the ball to the best player. It's in clean all over again. Let's get it to the best player.
Right.
So how do you see like the plan in kids today? Is they're like, okay, I'm not playing, I need to become more than who I am. Like, do you see that a lot? And obviously that's who you
Well,
recruit.
things have changed so much that the kids don't play as far as like you said, meaningful basketball anymore. Every day when I grew up, and even in your generation, you guys played every day. Sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, or a lot of times 2, 3 times a day. So they'll go in the gym and mess around, not really taking anything serious or meaningful. But as far as playing, sometimes we have to make them play 3-on-3 and 4-on-4 to learn the game because all basketball is organized street ball. You got to be able to think on the fly. I mean, you got to sometimes not the pass that leads to a shot, it's the pass that leads to that pass for a shot. Just making basketball is a game where the less I coach, the better I feel. If I have to coach you every play, I shouldn't have to be able to coach you to make a routine basketball play. And today, you go to a gym, you go to a game, you hardly ever see guys that can make routine plays. I mean, just a routine play. It's a 2-on-1 and the guy wide open, and then the guy throws it where it get deflected. Or when it's like that, you got either we're going to score or we're going to get fouled, one of the two. But now it's the ball. You take the ball out on the side because a guy got the ball tipped. He didn't know how to fake a pass to make a pass. Just the routine plays that it's come from playing over and over again. But kids today, they don't go to open gym where they go play. If they do, they go and stay for 20 minutes. Where if they lose, they said, "Okay, I'm gonna go play the video game." So you just got to spend hours at it if you want to be good at it. You have to go play.
Right. You have to. And that's it. I mean, the path to perfection is repetition. And I think the kids don't get enough repetition these days. And that's part of the issue. And then on top of that, they don't get valuable reps, important reps. So they'll go to the gym for 2 hours. They're on TikTok for 45 minutes of those 2 hours. They've stretched for another 30. And so, they really get nothing done. But, they're on Instagram telling everybody that, hey, I put the work in.
Well,
they really haven't.
What I'm seeing a lot is, they may go to the gym and then like for 30 minutes they're trying to dunk, and then out of all that 30 minutes they may have one spectacular dunk that they practiced. They missed it 30 times, but they got it that one time. But that one time shows up on Instagram. But they spent 45 minutes trying to do that.
Yeah,
and, you're not getting anything out of it.
No, not basketball wise.
TikTok or Instagram, but it didn't do anything to help your game.
Yeah, and that's actually the ultimate goal. One of the things that, like, as I was there, just I talked about how you helped me compete, and when we played, it seemed like you made us compete at every drill. I can remember we played games, and you keep track of win-loss record. So when we scrimmage, this is even in the off season. So every and you kind of tell us, hey man, look, you're not a winner. Look at the winning board. This guy shoots better. We tracking our threes. Well, such and such gets to shoot shots. Well, look at the leaderboard. He gets more reps than you, and he makes more than you. There was always something that allowed you to prove the decisions you were making, and so is that still a big part of your program and how you do it now?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We try to compete at every little deal we do, and we're not shooting the ball really well. And I've been telling the guys all year, there's a game that we call up three. You get a partner and y'all play another guy, another team 2-on-2, and you're shooting threes, but you shoot it, and then after you shoot it, you rebound, and then after you rebound it, you go spot up, and the first one is called up three. And like if one team makes it, the other team missed, that team is up one. And then if the team that made it again, they make it, and the other team missed, they're up two. But if the team that missed that was up one, and the other team that made it, they're even, and the first one gets
Mm.
up three is your winner. That's a
Okay.
competitive shooting game that they could play that is more game like than just going out and just throwing up shots that's
Yeah.
not meaningful. And I mean, every drill we do, I mean, 4-on-4, 3-on-3, 2-on-2, whether it's shell. I mean, we try to compete and we have winners. Losers do push ups or run. And like you say, at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year, when the season's over, we still play games using a 24-second shot clock, and we keep up with your win-loss record for the remainder of the season. And if you played
Mhm.
90 games and your record is 40 and 50, I mean, you're not very good. I
Yeah.
mean, you lost 50 games out of 90. And, and we tell those guys all the time, especially point guards, uh,
Right.
you know, you judge by wins and losses.
Yep.
That's what it's like
Yep.
a quarterback. I
I
mean,
remember that. I remember that.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, if you're going to be a point guard, if you're going to leave McClennen and you're going to Sam Houston, you're going to Marshall, you're going to Boise State, and you're a point guard, you got to go help them win. And
Yep.
if you lose more than you win, you're not going to be able to help them.
Yeah. Man, that's just the truth. What's the biggest adjustment you think high schoolers have to make from the transition from high school to college?
um, really playing faster and getting stronger. In high
Yeah.
school, there's no shot clock. And that's a big adjustment. Now, when they come to college, there's the 30-second shot clock, and then you got guys guarding you, so you got to get in the offense, and then you can't stand around. You got to be able to move, and then you got to be strong enough to get where you need to go because guys will push you around, won't let you go where you need to go. Um, uh, and just being able to pay attention to detail, listening, because uh, if you don't, guys are so good in college where if you leave a guy that's a 3-point shooter and he can make 3 or 4 and beat you, or
Yeah.
if you guard a guy that really can't score well and you're not helping, and they got another guy that that's you really gonna have to help off of, just paying attention to detail. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
that's one of the biggest things. Just listening. Actually, today I didn't used to have to coach this, but now one of the best skills you can have is just listening and following instructions. Because a lot of people won't do it. They can't do it today. I
Yeah.
mean,
You used to think it was a prerequisite, but now it's a skill,
right?
huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a skill. I mean, it's just as important as dribbling, passing, and shooting today. It's
Wow.
listening and paying and attention to detail.
Wow. And I was looking at y'all's record. I mean, starting out the year, y'all were 11-1, just on cue, like you always do. And then
Right.
you had an injury bug that was just different than have you ever had this many injuries?
Not even
Ever?
close. Not even close. We like you said, we started the year 11-1, and then we go out to Tucson, Arizona, and play the number 2 team in the nation, Salt Lake City, and they were loaded. They were really good. And 5 minutes into that game, one of the kids from Harker Heights, Evan Chapman, he breaks his foot. We still was able to win that game by double digits without him. And he was coming on. He was starting. He could play the 3 and 4 for us, so he played 2 positions. And
Mhm.
we get back from that trip and we play our first conference game, and our starting point guard goes out. He tears his ACL. The next game, our starting 5-man, he messes his knee up and he's out for the season. And it's just a plethora of injuries. So within like 14 days, you got 3 starters that goes down, and now we're playing
Yeah.
with 7 guys, and it's not the right 7,
Yeah.
but we actually had a game last night. We went down the hill. Our first conference game we had. That's when our point guard went out. We beat them 70-38, and then
Hmm.
last night we go down the hill. We hit a shot at the buzzer and beat them. So we're still hanging in there. They're playing hard, but with 7 guys and especially 3 starters that are out, it's just
Yeah.
tough. But
Yeah. That's
like I say, you're gonna go through adversity, but you just got to keep fighting.
yeah, and that's the adjustment is finding the new you, so to speak. This we have to find a different way to win, and sometimes the games are your practices in order to get there. I can remember. you talk about right now about pivoting. I won't use the player's name, but we had a player on our team who's one of the top players. He was probably our best rebounder, shot blocker, probably interior scorer.
Yeah,
And you basically gave him, like, hey, look, you got one more chance. And, obviously
yeah,
he was good all his life. So, that probably didn't mean much to him. And we
right.
came back in his locker room was cleaned out. And you came in the locker room and said, yep, that's right. I call it adding by subtracting. And
Yeah,
like that was my first time kind of experiencing like, okay, hold on. This is the top player that we just let go and he just moving on. And that math wasn't mathing to me. Like, hold on, he's a top
right.
player. I don't see adding by subtracting. Then we get out in practice and you're like, Chris, you want push the ball. We not waiting for nothing. Like our style just completely changed.
Yeah,
Um, and stuff. So like how is that? This kind of entitlement, you have the players that you have, but um,
yeah.
what made you make that decision? I just want to know that.
Well, here's the deal. You have to be a good teammate, number one, and then you have to be coachable, and you have to make sure, number one, when I talk to you, when I'm recruiting you guys, one of the main things I'm telling your parents is, hey, he's going to be around really good people. We're going to make him do the right thing. He's going to be held accountable, and then he has to be able to go to class and get his education. Because
Right.
I mean, basketball is one of the reasons that he doesn't have to pay for school, but
Right.
he's have to go to school because that's one of our requirements. And being a teammate, good teammate, just getting along with the program. I mean, everybody doesn't come from a perfect situation, perfect family structure, but everybody can get there and understand. Hey, this is what I got to do in order to be make myself successful and make our team successful. And and we'll give guys chances after chances, but when they don't want to really buy in and think that they're going to do it their way, sooner or later, if they're hurting the team, we just have to
Yeah.
cut strides. And then after that, I mean, like I tell all you guys, there's nobody, including Coach Gill, that's bigger than the team.
Yeah.
So I mean, either you're going to do it or you're not. And we're in a great situation where McClennen is like a Division I school. It's a small version of a D1,
Yep.
and great situation, great housing situation, great location, and good program that can get you where you need to go. But you have to make sure that you're doing all of this, your part to
Yeah.
fall in line.
And I didn't know that coming in. I was, I thought I was just going to a regular JUCO, and then I get there and
Yeah.
I'm just like, whoa, this is like a guard haven, and what
Oh
we had
yeah.
to buy into was like, because I mean, we had like 6 guys averaging like 9 to 12 points a game.
Right.
And it made the game easier because there wasn't so much pressure for you to perform
Right.
perfectly every game. They knew you were
Yeah.
a winner. They knew the team was so good. Nobody was really going to average 20.
Right.
And as a result, we got it. And back to that situation with the player, after you did that adding by subtracting, we go out and win our next 7 games in a row. And
Yeah.
it's just, I just never looked at it like that. I thought we were just, hey, we got to teach him a lesson, but also we're going to suffer for it. And we didn't. We got better. We literally added by subtracting. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and the thing is, once you were able to go to other schools, your Division I schools, you guys average more points at the Division I than you did
Yeah.
in our place. Because guess what?
Yeah.
I mean, but it taught you how to be a team player, and if you ever have to get in a situation where, hey man, I don't have to score 20 to win. I mean, but I can get 20.
Yeah.
I mean, knowing that you can do it, but you don't have to, it makes it tough for the other team to scout.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, who we gonna really guard? I mean, they got 3 guys that are averaging 11 points a game. I mean,
Yeah.
and 2 averaging 12. I mean,
Yeah.
who we gonna guard?
And when I did go Division I, I mean, that's one of the main differences is like even the ones that were just couldn't match my intensity and energy. Like they just couldn't match
Yeah,
it because, I had been conditioned to just play this way. And it's just like, man, you just won't quit. No, I won't. Like I don't know what it looks like. So I really encourage players to find things, which kind of leads to my next question. How often does this happen? You have a player you like, you're interested in, people are saying good things
Right.
about him, and then you go and watch him and he turns you off for non-basketball reasons, or his family or whatever. Like, do you have situations like that?
Sometimes I do. I mean, you may go watch a guy and, he may not play hard, or, when he comes out the game, he's not a good teammate, or you can tell in the stands where his family is saying, well, no, we're not interested in JUCO. I mean, he's a D1 player, and I mean, it's D1 or bust. And, I'm like, well, I don't know if you recognized or found out, but, these guys are college coaches are going out the portal now. They're going to get a 22-year-old guy that's, at a D2 school before they're going to get high school guys. And, wherever he goes, when he get there, it's going to be tough. I mean, basketball is a tough game. You got to prove yourself once you get there. And, if you're not prepared for it, you come in thinking that you were really good. Because we had a guy on our team that was in your class that, he came from, I'm not going to call any names, but he came from Austin, and he thought that he was a good player, but he thought that everything was going to be handed to him. And he kind of used that persona throughout the team. And, man, every day the team came after him as far as, defensively wise. And, it really kind of made him go from being a point guard to, at his next school, he was a four-man.
Yeah. And you think about like what players are competing with now, and you have the portal, you have overseas players who are just getting better. And all those. So like, I don't think players understand like how much more competitive it is, because most kids, they only compete with what they can see. And there's just the lack of an imagination really hurts a lot of kids. Because in me, I used to always imagine me playing this kid in Florida in my head. Like I was competing against somebody I couldn't see. So even if I was the best at my gym, there's always somebody at some other gym that was better who I was competing with mentally. And I think a lot of kids look around and they say, oh, I'm the best here, and this is how it's going to be everywhere. And it's like, no, you're competing against a lot more people that you can't see. And so is that kind of a mental shift that the kids kind of fight a lot of times, and you're trying to get them off of?
We got, because one of the first things I tell them when they first get to the locker room is just about every one of you guys were the best player on your team. You were the best player on your high school team. Now you're gonna have to find a role, because all 15 of you guys aren't gonna be the best player on this team. There's no way. Right. I mean, and it starts in practice. Who's going to compete to get better? I mean, there's no substitute for hard work. I mean, it's just no substitute. There's no shortcuts. When you don't feel like going to practice, and you feel like even after the practice is over, you're the first one out the gym, that other guy, he's going to stay in there and get better. And, I mean, you may have came in here better, but I want to know who's going to lead better. And the guys that put in the work. It's almost like when you go to the bank. If you haven't put anything in the bank, you can't go get anything out of the bank. Yeah. So whatever you put in it, that's what you're gonna get out of it.
That's it. And that's what I love when I was playing with you, is like you would always reward whatever we became, not who we were, because who we were doesn't matter. And so we'd get out there, and it's just like, all right, well, Juwan, you're gonna start, because, and I could actually, there was a time my freshman year where I got to start. I hadn't been scoring, but I was guarding really well and causing a lot of problems defensively. So I wasn't even scoring, and I got to start because of that. And I was just like, man. And then as a result, it just became contagious, where other guys wanted to get on the court. They like, well, I'm gonna start guarding harder too. It was just so competitive. So I really wish like that players would do this. And this is, and you could, I'd like, before we close, I'd like you to maybe add in some things that I tell players. So when they go to, let's say, an exposure event or whatever, I tell them, hey guys, guard full court, because everybody else is picking up at half. So you already stand out. Next thing you do is, if there is a screen, fight over the screen, because now it's no longer one-on-one. This is now team basketball. So even if he scores and gets around you, it shows the level of toughness that you have. And then the other thing is push the ball. And all of these things that I'm naming, is predicated on you being in the best shape you can possibly be in. Because if you're not in the best shape, you can't do any of it. You can't do any of it. So like those are the things that you can decide to do before an event, especially if you're 6 foot and under. If you're under 6 foot, non-negotiable. You got to do these things. And I think a lot of kids that aren't big and don't have the physical attributes to just say, hey, look at me, you should recruit me because you can't teach what I have. There's too many players that are undersized and still just waiting for things to come to them instead of going to get it. So like when I give that advice about how to approach, you know, an exposure event or something like that, you know, is there anything you would add, or is that pretty much where you would stop?
I would also add that, you know, a sign of a good basketball player is, can he make his teammates better? I mean, what can you do to make your teammates better? Can you get them shots? I mean, can you make it easier for them to catch the ball? Can you help them on defense? Also, you know, there's no substitute for a guy that's hustling. A guy that's, I mean, just because you're 6 foot, that doesn't mean you can't rebound. That doesn't mean you can't get on the floor for 50-50 balls. You know, just making IQ. I'm looking for IQ because basketball, 80% of it is played from the neck up, using your brain. So if you can use your brain and make the game a lot easier for not only yourself but your team, you're an asset to the team. And you know, just always be a good teammate. But if you can make you do things like you said, you knew to pick a guy up full court, so coach not having to tell you, hey, go pick that guy up, or push the basketball and get it to the player who can score. I mean, get the ball.
It's not rocket science, but yeah, you end up teaching that stuff.
Everybody wants to be a scorer. Everybody wants to be a shooter, but everybody don't want to put in the work that it takes to be a shooter. So if you go out and you're 1 for 7 and you haven't spent a lot of time in the gym shooting meaningful game-like shots, it's not going to happen in the game. It just doesn't miraculously happen. I mean, you just gotta work on it.
My take was always just make yourself so serviceable and so good in so many areas that coach can't duplicate what you bring. So like, you know, as I played, you know, beyond from college to pro, every team I played on, I always led in minutes played because I'd make other people more efficient. So even when I wasn't scoring, and that's how I tell kids how I judge you, I was like, hey, can you be the best player on the court when you're not scoring? That really judges how good you can be. And so that was my take on it. So all of a sudden, even if I wasn't this super Damian Lillard, Steph kind of scorer, I still would average 14, 15 a game because I'm on the court. I'd walk into a free layup or some free throws. And so I'm like, just get on the court. And because if scoring is that's a competitive market. It's very competitive. So if you can be the best playmaker or the best defender or the best rebounder, hey, there's staying power even when you're not on top of your game.
Well, and that's what you know, I tell kids all the time is, you know, if you get on the court, that's the main thing. Make coach where he cannot take you off the court. And you don't have to be a scorer. If you're rebounding, you're passing the ball to where it needs to be, you're defending, you're doing all the little bitty things where you say, coach said, man, we got to have that guy on the floor. But if you think, okay, I'm going to just go out and take this shot, and if I make it, it don't matter if you make or miss the shot, and then you're giving up everything else on the other end. I mean, are you being an asset to the team? I mean, put it where coach cannot take you off the floor unless you want to. You need a breather.
Right. That's it. Oh man, this has been awesome, coach. Again, like I said, maybe down the road I have to get you back on to hit other topics, but right now this is gold. I want to get this out, and I'm really hoping. Like I said, I'm looking at your record, I'm looking at your resume. Like you don't win 80% of your games on accident. Like there's things that you're doing right. So I always try to put, like, I was lucky to have people way smarter than me that helped me, and so since you're obviously one of those people, I'm hoping the people that are listening are going to do the same thing and just take heed to the words you're giving.
Well, one thing I could truly say is, man, I'm proud of you. I know whenever you get a chance to come back to Waco area, you come down and work with our guys. And I mean, there's plenty of people that you've worked with that actually, you know, a few of them that come play for me, or even on the girls' side that you work with. You know, I'm just see in passing. But the thing I'm proud of you for is, you got your education and you're raising a family and you're giving back and you're trying to help grow the game. And that's the main thing, is help grow the game of basketball and
Exactly.
help people play the right way, get them going in the right direction.
Thank you. And that's you know, funny enough, that's kind of the the knock I kind of get with a lot of players is kids don't watch a lot of basketball. So how I explain it is they'll watch whoever Luca make the shot and they just watch the highlights. And so so when they come in my gym and I'm teaching them how to come off of screens correctly and how to read them, and they come in the gym, that doesn't look like basketball to them because they're like, we're not working on that double step back that Luca did. And so usually that's usually what I'm trying to educate kids is like, hey, guys like you like the things that I'm teaching, and it starts with a foundation. So hopefully hearing you say it on top of me saying it will get, kids that aren't on board so they can get and accomplish their dreams, because that's what it takes. That's what it takes.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Well, thanks again, Coach. I really appreciate it.
Okay, man. Well, anytime you need me, just call me.
Oh, for sure. All right.
Okay.